In this video, we are going to go over some word problems involving piecewise functions. Let's start with number 51. So a monthly tablet plan costs $34.99 and it includes 3 gigabytes of data and charges $15 per gigabyte for any additional gigabytes. The following function is used to compute the monthly cost for a subscriber. So if x is in between 0 and 3, in other words, if you use anywhere in between 0 gigabytes all the way up to 3 gigabytes, it is just $34.99, right? That should kind of make sense, right? However, if you end up spending using more than 3 gigabytes of data, you'll have to be charged an extra $15 per gigabyte. Now, what ends up happening is that we end up using this function if x is greater than 3. Okay? Where that function comes from is not important right now. Just you have to trust that it will work. All right, so let's start with this. Compute the monthly costs for each of the following gigabytes of use. So if there's 2 gigabytes that are used, well, that falls in this category. 2 is in between 0 and 3. And so that means that for A, the cost will be $34.99. Remember, anything less than or equal to 3 gigabytes, it has a flat price of $34.99. 5 is a little bit different, right? That is no longer in that first part. Now we're going to have to deal with this different function right here. So this is going to be 15 times 5 minus 10.01. Now 15 times 5, I think is 75. I'm going to get out my calculator just to make sure. And 75 minus 10.01 is 64.99. So that will be my answer. Now, to be 100% clear, this is probably not the way most people would figure this out. If I was trying to figure out how much this is going to cost, I would do it like this. It's going to be $34.99 for the first 3 hours, right? Plus I get an extra 2 hours. Hold on one second. I feel like my computer is messing up a little bit. Let me just see if I can't fix it. Okay. It's 2 hours at it, and remember the 15 per gigabyte for every extra gigabyte. That'll be 2 times 15. Now this ends up being 34.99 plus 30, which is 64.99. I just wanted to show you can think of it more than one way, right? But I also wanted to show you that this formula, even though it might seem funny, you might not sure where it came from, it does end up working as well. So for part C, we'll just use the formula just to practice it. All right, so now we're at 13 gigabytes. Again, that is a number that is greater than 3, so we use this bottom formula. And we're going to do 15 times 13 minus 10.01. And this will be 15 times 13 minus 10.01. And 15 times 13 is 195 minus 10.01 is going to be 184.99. All right, so that's how we use piecewise functions in this scenario. We have one more example that I'd like to go over, which is this one here. So let me copy and paste this. All right. So in October 2021, Spire Incorporated had the following rate schedule for natural gas usage in single family residences. There's a monthly service charge of $22, and then natural gas costs for the first 50 therms. A therms is a way of measuring natural gas. It's $0.24863 per therm, and over 50 therms, then you get 0.30123 per therm. All right. So, what is the charge for using 20 therms in a month? Well, that would follow uh, like this. First, you have your $22 that you get charged no matter what, plus for those first 20 therms, right? Or that first 50, anything under 50, you only get charged basically 24 cents, right? So this would be 20 times 0.24863. I'm just going to put this all in my calculator. So I'm going to put 22 plus 20 times 0.24863, and I get approximately 26.97 dollars as my final answer. B. What is the charge for using 100 therms in a month? Well, first I'd start with 22 plus, again, the first 50 are cheaper. So I do 50 times the cheaper rate. Plus, I have what's remaining is another 100 therms. I'm sorry, I have an extra 50 therms left over. So that's going to be 50 therms at the more expensive rate. Again, I'm just going to put this in my calculator. So 22 plus 50 times the cheaper rate, 0.24863, plus 50 of those therms are going to be charged at the more expensive rate, which is 0.30123. And I end up with approximately 49.49. All right, so let's develop a function that models the monthly charge for x therms of gas. All right, if x is less than or equal to 50, and in fact, it has to be greater than 0, I can't have a negative amount of gas that I use, then f of x will be equal to 22 plus 0.24863 times x. But what happens if we use more than 50 therms? In other words, x is greater than 50. It'll look more like part B. So my function will be 22 plus my first 50 therms will be 50 times 0.24863. That'll be 50 therms at the cheaper rate, plus whatever's left over will be at the larger rate. But I got to figure out, so what's left over? Well, I'm going to have to take my x and subtract the first 50 that I used, and then I multiply that by 0.30123. Again, so in that first example, part B, I did 100 minus 50. What was left over was 50, and I multiplied that by 0.30123. I'm going to clean this up a little bit. So this will be, I'm going to just do 22 plus 50 times 0.24863. So I'm going to put all of this together, and I get the number 34.4315 plus, and I think this looks fine. I'll just keep it like this. X minus 50 times 0.30123. All right. So next, what I'm going to do is I want to write this down as a piecewise function. And so if 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 50, then f, let me just make sure so let me try this again. First, I'm going to write down the equation, sorry. So that's going to be 22 plus 0.24863x if 0 is less than or equal to x is less than or equal to 50. Or it'll be 34.4315 plus x minus 50 times 0.30123 if x is greater than 50. And so this would be my piecewise function. All right, now I have to graph this function. To make my life a little bit easier, I'm going to do a lot of this work on Desmos. So let's go to Desmos. All right, I'm going to write down both of these functions. So I have 22 plus 0.24863 x. All right. And there's that. That'll be from 0 to 50. And then the other one will be, and it's 344315 plus x minus 50 times 0.30123. Okay. I'm just going to copy and paste this. And just remember that the red line is for the first part, the blue line is for the second part. And actually, let's get this point right here. And we'll label that point. So let me copy and paste that. So I'm going to do a little bit of a cheat, or not a shortcut here. All right, so let's think about it. So I use the red line for 0 to 50. So I'm going to just copy and paste, or I'm just going to trace from here to here. The rest of the red line I'm not going to use. And then after 50, I use the blue line. And maybe I'll actually just, let me think, how can I do this? I think it looks fine. So after that, now I follow that blue line going upwards. And that's more or less what my graph is going to look like. And I don't use the blue line anywhere else, right? Let me see. Do I have like a white? Maybe I'll just do a quick. Just do. Let's see if I can clean this up a little bit. Yeah. Give me 1 second. Do it a little bigger. It's not the most beautiful thing I've ever done, but I think it'll work just fine. That's more or less what the graph is going to look like. Okay, so again, those are a couple examples of solving or word problems that involve piecewise functions. I hope that was helpful, and we will see you in the next video.